You changed the names. Did you try to make a fictional story out of a true story?
Well, it is a fictional story in the sense that a lot of the dialogue in the trial, for instance, is stuff I had to come up with myself. There's very little information from this tape. A lot of the people who worked the farms were illiterate. There's no written record of many of the emotions that they felt, feelings they may have had for their neighbors. No, I had to make up a lot of this stuff. And of course, I stuck to the basic movement of the story.
And is it as humorous as your presentation was? I presume not.
It's hard to put too much humor in that type of a story. I mean, it involves murder and one person axing another person to death. Not exactly the atmosphere to be very humorous. But there is a sort of a hint of my personality in the book, as all people do, I think, exemplify in their own works.
Next.
Yeah.
Was the guy who murdered your uncle, was he Irish? No, honestly, was he Irish?
They're all Scottish.
The second question was, and don't laugh please, I'll speak slow so you can understand. You've got a big family where everyone peed the bed, so when your wife's water broke, it was no difference to you, yes? You were in bed with her at the same time?
Well, I was a pretty young kid when that happened.
Yeah, we've all been there. But was he Irish, the murderer?
He was Irish, he was Catholic.
Well, there you go, we'll end it there.
His kids had all been baptized. He had 10 children. The man who was murdered had 5 children. There were 15 children left after this tragedy. One of them was hanged, the other was killed. It's a sad story.
Can I just ask? The names are fictitious in your book.
Yes.
You told us who the real people were.
Yes.
How much are you going to pay us to keep that quiet?
Well, everybody knows about it.
Oh, really?
Everybody knows about it from the area that I refer to all the time, which is the area called Pine+River. Pine+River is not a legal name for a town or a municipality, but it's sort of a translation of the French, which is an area in the middle of Shannon, it's sort of part of the crooks of Shannon.
The Irish neighborhood.
Okay, next. Job's back. Go.
Your book about Mr. Thompson, you know if he laid claim to any land around there, or was he just...
Not that we know of.
Okay.
He did retire in the Montreal area, so we haven't seen any sign of his having had any property in the area there, at Mr. Townships. He did have some land near, actually in Ontario. What was the name of it? Glengarry? Glengarry County. It was Scottish area. There were a lot of Scots, of course, at that time. Most of the folks, explorers, were Scottish. He, unfortunately, although he had been a tremendous explorer and fur trader, and made a lot of money. We don't know how much money, but he made a lot of money, enough to be able to lend money to hundreds of people. And then there was a depression back in 1812 and so they weren't able to repay him, and he was forced into bankruptcy. He had done so much for Canada and parts of the United States for the Corporation. But he ended up actually poverty-stricken, and he still lived to a ripe old age of 87, which, when the life expectancy was like 55, 1830s. So, no, he didn't, he ended up with nothing really for all of his efforts.
Was the Thompson River named after him?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it was. PSO, there's a lot of Thompson's without P, but that one was Thompson Highway.
Yeah.
Also, bicycle.
Anybody else? Any more questions? Anybody? You, sir.
The area that you mentioned, pardon me, in the eastern townships that was God-forsaken, what does that represent today? Where is that area? Is that like Knowlton, Quebec? Is it?
No, it's Mount Megantic. On top of Mount Megantic, there's the largest astronomical observatory.
Yeah, the observatory. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what was considered the Badlands by the Indians.
Yes, well, near the mountain, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's only moose that would live there.
Yeah, but there are people living in
Oh,
a
sure.
lot of the area now.
Yeah, yeah.
Still a lot of moose.
Oh, I know. Thank you.
Yeah, I had a question about your book about Mr. Thompson. I mean, what was it that struck you about Thompson that wanted to, write a book specifically about his exploration? And do you feel that he contributed something great towards the opening up of Canada's hinterland, or something like that, or?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. As Barbara said, he opened up the Rocky Mountains. Didn't open up the Rocky Mountains, but he found a trail through the Rocky Mountains that was at least accessible.
Right.
Nobody had been able to do that. So behind him followed a lot of settlers, eventually inhabited not the Rocky Mountains, but the Alberta, British Columbia, state of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, as a result of his efforts. And the thing that, he's my personal hero. He was able to keep the daily journal, and how in the heck he did that, in conditions that I was just relating about, the weather, pouring rain all the time, most of the time that he was in the township. Writing with them, I guess, not a quill pen, but nib and ink and so on. He was able to do that. And work with a sextant, and he did so much that, as Barbara said, his results, his maps were extraordinary, still are considered that way today. And he became blind in one eye. I'm not sure how the sextant works, but he became blind in one eye at quite an early age, and also crippled in one leg at an early age. And he went on to do all these extraordinary things. Plus, he was whereas most of the fur traders would ply the natives with alcohol to take advantage of them, he would not do that. Never did. And he, as a matter of fact, when he was ordered to do so, the Northwest Company, with whom he had worked for some time, he smashed all the liquor. Because he was doing such a good job for us. Otherwise, they kept him on. And so he was quite a character.
Yeah. My question for Marielle. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say your novel is largely thematically based on self-exploration.
Yes.
How much of self-exploration was it for you writing this novel?
Well, it is actually, it's written from the experience I had with painting.
Okay.
So that's how I wrote the novel, because to me, it's inseparable, painting and writing. So I finally understood how I work, because for a long time I wondered, should I paint, should I write? But to me, both were equally so important to me. So I came to this conclusion that I have to paint when I have no words. When there's something there that I can't express with words. And in the end, when the words are there, when I see the painting, it nourishes what I have to say. and then I can express it with words. So it's like a dance for me. I go from one to the other constantly.
Could I follow up with, is the cover a painting of yours as well?
Yes, it is.
And additionally, there was another question there just a moment ago. I got lost in your explanation itself. With regard to your painting and your self-exploration in writing, is the novel semi-autobiographical? Is there a...
I would say it's emotionally true.
Right, okay.
But as for the story itself, it's really a novel.